Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher, and we are back to regular season football. I am so excited for the 2019 season, but it is week one, and if I'm going solo today, you know what this is. This is WTF, so what the football, week one. And I love this regular weekly segment that our fearless leader, Joe, lets me do, because I get to rant on all things NFL, games, field mishaps, players, coaches issues, just everything that came up that make you think, what the football is going on here? And I don't just talk about the Steelers, even though we will get to that mess. I get to talk about other teams and just some of the things that maybe you missed or didn't get to see. And we had, boy, what a week did we have on week one. So let's get to it and see what's going on. Well, first, I have to say that I'm not happy with my fantasy football. So my fantasy football, I have 3 leagues. I have one money league, one other that's kind of a half money league. And then I have one that I run that's just a real quick, I even do auto draft. Don't get me started. Everybody loves that. But I'm telling you, I don't know about you guys, but nobody did what they were supposed to do except, Sammy Watkins, who I passed over for Sony Michel, who was supposed to get me 15 points and got me 1.8. Yeah, it was not a good week for me. So, but we will get to that. Who thought that Sammy Watkins would have 42 fantasy points? Not I. I don't know who did, except maybe my daughter, who ended up getting his points. But what happened this week in the league? Oh my goodness. We had such an interesting week of football. Now, I have to brag a little bit. I was actually at a speaking engagement, but on vacation as well in Hawaii. And out there, Thursday night football starts at 2:30 in the afternoon. So for those of you that always give me a hard time because you're saying, how can you watch football so early in California? Because, that's where actually I'm based out of. Well, when you go to Hawaii, it's another 3 hours behind. So yes, 2:30, we're coming up from the beach and the pools, and we're getting ready to watch football at 2:30 in the afternoon. And it was a Green Bay versus Chicago game. And I don't know about you, but by halftime, I was trying not to fall asleep. So Green Bay ended up winning 10-3. Very defensive game. Not much really to say too much about the game. It was just a little boring for me, but it was a defensive game. And that's actually what Aaron Rodgers kept saying. He just kept saying, we have a defense. He was just so excited that they have a defense. I'm like, okay, Aaron, WTF, just calm down. We know you have a defense. But he seemed pretty happy with that. I actually took Chicago to win. So again, even my picks this last week were kind of sad. I was just like, I do so much better on week one. This was just not fun for me this week, but I'm looking forward to week 2, so we'll see what happens. Then in a couple of different games, definitely some WTF moments. First of all, Vernon Davis. Did you see what he did as his touchdown in the Skins game? Oh my gosh, he looked like a video pinball machine. He had a touchdown. I know he's like 150 years old, but he was bumping off people and everything in that Washington game. So shout out to him. He really just looked like he found the fountain of youth. So that was crazy. But back to the KC game where I mentioned Sammy Watkins. Now, we are aware that Mahomes is just awesome, and he is just going to find a way to score points. So there's nothing really I can say about him. He's just great when it comes to offense and what he does. But when you basically play a team, the Jaguars, that have their quarterback in the first quarter leave with a broken collarbone, and they put in a guy called, get this, Gardner Minshew, the second. Let's not forget the second. And he actually did a decent job, but they just kept talking about him on TV. They loved saying his name because who the heck is Gardner Minshew? To me, you have Nick Foles as your starting quarterback. Yes, you probably don't need a vet backup or somebody who's been there before, but you can't always say, okay, well, the the Kansas City Chiefs are the best in the league because they played a team that lost their starting quarterback. So even though, yes, they definitely did a great job with what they scored, you still have to look at the reality. So scoring 40 points is a big deal. But again, when you're playing a team that doesn't have a starting quarterback and you have a rookie just straight out of college that's never seen the light of day and probably didn't see much time on the field in the preseason and in the off season, you're going to look really, really good. So that's definitely something that people need to just calm down. Good for them. They gotta win as far as Kansas City. But, come on, people. You look who you're playing. And then the Ravens. Okay, we're just, where do I start with this game? So everybody knows the Ravens put up a 50 burger. So it was 59-10. They played Miami, and they had, Fitzpatrick. And do not say that word. Don't say it. Do not say Fitzmagic. It doesn't happen. And it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. But Lamar Jackson, who my daughter calls a running back in a fake quarterback clothing, which is kind of mean, but I get what she's saying because last year he did not look like a quarterback. He did a decent job in this game. But again, you're playing Miami. Miami was terrible. How come the Steelers couldn't play Miami? That would have been a great day. That would seriously been a great day. But when we're looking at this from reality, this is what the Ravens did. And this is my WTF moment for the Ravens. First of all, they're up 35-3. And what are they doing? They're fake punting. Okay, so my daughter played softball in college and all throughout her youth. And it's kind of like stealing bases when you're up by 20 points, okay, and 20 runs. And you don't even see them do it in the big leagues in baseball. There's a point where it's rude. And so I'm not too excited about John Harbaugh on that one. I was just like, what the football are you doing out there? And they ended up winning 59-10. So whatever. I just think that's really just rude. I'm not really excited about that. But one of the things that happened on the field this weekend were the ejections. So we had some ejections. Miles Jack from the Jags. We had a Browns Myles Garrett, he actually took a swing at a player, and you can't take a swing at a player. And so, the Browns lose a nose tackle, or left tackle, I should say, because he kicked a Titan in the head. And so it's just, you have all kinds of issues there where if you're going to throw a punch, you're going to kick somebody. WTF football players, week 1, you're going to get an ejection and you're going to get a little slip of paper saying you owe money to the league. So really kind of calm yourself down. Let's take a step back and just be professional. This is crazy. But I was like, another ejection. I think there was 4 total. And here's my favorite one, I think, and I'm not even to the end of my list today, but one of my favorite ones has to be when I'm driving to work on Monday morning and the NFL radio is like, oh my gosh, the Vikings have this great offense and they're Super Bowl ready and they like what they're seeing, and they're trying to anoint Kirk Cousins like some kind of an offensive god. Did you see the game? So yes, they won 28-12, but here are Kirk Cousins' stats. 8 of 10 in passing for 98 yards and a touchdown. All the rest of the touchdowns were scored by running and rushing. They were not by him. He did not have a great game. He had an okay game, but he was handing the ball off the whole time. So my WTF moment on this is, people, just stop trying to make Kirk Cousins something he isn't. It drives me crazy. What can I say? But here's one that actually might be a favorite of some of you. Actually, it's kind of sad, and I feel really bad for, now the name. You're going to know it because he's been around a long time. Adam Vinatieri. Who is that? He is the Colts kicker. So the Indianapolis Colts, obviously Andrew Luck's not playing. So now they have their new quarterback, or I should say his backup now, who's in. And they lost 30-24 to the Chiefs. But the kicker is 47 years old. Yes, 47. He missed 2 field goals and an extra point. And so they would have won 31-24 if he would have made those. So it's unfortunate, but at this point, don't you think you want to get a kicker? I mean, you don't even have to go that much younger. How about 40? But 47, it's time to hang him up. It's just time. You're just not going to do it. Not in the weather, not in whatever's happening out there. Adam, you've been great, and I know you're trying to score something with your Hall of Fame career, but it's time to call it a day. So I felt bad for them, and they really had a really tough time. And then I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Detroit, Arizona. Well, we have our first tie, folks. This is a total WTF. First tie of the season, 24-24. Now, Detroit, they ended up with a timeout, and they would have been able to run the clock out, but they had to go into double overtime because somebody called a timeout as Detroit was actually moving the ball, and it was not something that their quarterback knew was happening. So Stafford you should have seen a look on his face. If you got a chance to watch that on Red Zone, go back and take a look. He was livid. And believe me, in his head, he is thinking, WTF, why are you calling a timeout there? Because all it did is help the team, Arizona. So he would have been able to just run the clock out. And so that was definitely a WTF moment. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. There's just no way to spin that. And then the Bills. Now, the Bills played the Jets. So I have to admit, I do have Le'Veon Bell in one of my fantasy leagues. He did score me 20 points, so I can't be too upset about that. But I have to admit, and okay, here's my petty side coming out. The Bills came back from a 16-point deficit, the most they've ever had, or the largest since 2011. And they won 17-16. So this is where you get these one players that think they're the entire team. They're not. It takes a team to win, not just one player. Did he do his job? He did fine. But it was not just about Le'Veon Bell. So yeah, they got handed their first loss of the season. So there you are. But then that is my petty side because I can't say that I wasn't too upset about that. And then, did you see the Wildcat with McCaffrey, Newton play? If you get a chance to go back on YouTube or go back on some of the highlights, take a look at that. Oh man, talk about a WTF moment. That was a great play when you're looking at the Carolina game. I just love that. Now we get into, and I'm going to get to the Steelers, but first I just want to talk about Monday Night Football. So if you saw the New Orleans Texans game, wow. All I can say is, wow, talk about an offensive shootout. But you know that's going to happen when Drew Brees is at center. And then you've got Deshaun Watson. He looks great. Now, there wasn't much defense, but there was, because each one of them actually gave up interceptions. So I guess that was okay. But we're talking major offense there and just back and forth the whole time. And in 50 seconds in the fourth quarter, there was 3 scores. So Deshaun Watson, he came and he basically won the game for them. And all of a sudden I'm looking up, I'm like, that's too much time. That's too much time. What are you doing? It's like giving Tom Brady or even Big Ben. I mean, you've seen Big Ben. He's come in with 10, 15 seconds. And he's like, I got this. Well, Drew Brees was given 37 seconds to win the game. Why would you give him that much time? That's like giving him an entire quarter. Well, guess what? He drove down the field, and that their kicker Lutz, who actually missed a 57-yarder, negated by a roughing the kicker call, which I actually think it should have been illegal contact for 5 yards instead of roughing the kicker for what it did. But he came back and nailed a 58-yarder for the win, 30-28. And so it was crazy. And all I kept thinking about, boy, you know what, with what happened in that game, if New Orleans didn't win after what they had to deal with last year, talk about a mutiny. It would have been crazy. But that was a definite WTF game because one would score and you're like, oh my gosh. And then the other one, and you're thinking, why would you give that quarterback that much time? And unless your defense is stopping everything, which they weren't, that's just way too much time. Hopefully they pay attention to that. And then Denver at Raiders. Now, this one, I apologize to all of you that are on the East Coast because I was tired. This game did not end until almost 10 o'clock here, which means that's 1 a.m. for you. So some of you probably didn't see some of that game. But you want to go on social media because there's a couple of things that's kind of interesting to see about that. And that is the fans with chants as they were coming out for the game that were using an expletive, which they basically FAB chants coming from the fans. So they were basically chanting it. I'm not a Raider fan at all, but this week with the crap that Raiders went through with him, just the drama and the manipulation and everything he did to get out and orchestrate his actual signing to the Patriots. And I'm not allowed to talk too much about it because Joe will get mad at me, so I won't do that. But I have to say something or it looks like we didn't notice. And I just think it is probably the worst showing for NFL of anything that's happened. And I just can't believe that he was allowed to do that and being rewarded with a contract an hour later in New England. And what does the league come out and say? Because I think there was tampering going on personally. You can't just figure that out yourself, either by his agent or somebody. And they said they're not going to investigate. Well, you know what? Okay, fine. Don't investigate. It's the Patriots. Of course you're not. But when the next collective bargaining agreement comes out, if you don't think there's not going to be language put in by coaches and owners and general managers saying that manipulation cannot happen, think again. He's pretty much ruined it for a lot of players. And a lot of players have come out, a lot of media people have come out and said that is just wrong. Tony Dungy was the first one. He said he's really disappointed that Belichick would even buy into it. So we'll see what happens there. But as Ben said, whatever. We'll see what happens. I'm more concerned about our team. But getting back to the Denver Raiders, not just that, they did win 24-16, but Joe Flacco, he's lost a step. And he didn't play at all on preseason football, which I thought was a mistake. You didn't play the last half of the year in Baltimore, and now you're not even building some chemistry in a real game with your new team. So I just don't understand why they did that. And he fumbled a couple of times. He got sacked a ton. And he just really just looked slow. So I just don't know if John Elway at this point might be in the hot seat. I know people are afraid to say that, but I'm telling you, there's definitely some issues there. So let's get to our game. Oh my goodness. Oh, Pittsburgh, what did you do? Well, I have a little bit of a disagreement with a couple of our SCU guys. So Zach and Joe, I think they feel my pain, but they don't call him exactly what I'm calling him here. So what about Dante Moncrief? Okay, what WTF is actually too calm of a saying for him. 3 to 4 drops. The one at 4th down, right to the chest, that was a 10-point swing. So that would have been first down before the half that he would have walked in with a touchdown, but instead the Pats get 3. And then he ran another wrong route. It cost us another 6 points. And so I just believe that, I don't know if he was nervous, if he didn't know what was going on, if him and Ben didn't have enough time in the off season. I don't know what was going on there, but he came in as a veteran help behind Juju to be the number 2 wide receiver. And right now, I just don't see that. James Washington, he had 51 yards on 6 targets. Now I'm saying targets, not catches, because I know that I just want to make sure how many times they went to this player. Dante Johnson, 25 yards on 5 targets. Dante Moncrief, this is the one that's supposed to be our second. He had 7 yards on 10 targets. 10 targets. Ben kept going back and back and back. And I'm just like, okay, when you start wishing that Martavis Bryant is reinstated into the league, in your head, you're just like, WTF, what the heck is going? But he just, I don't know. Everybody says, oh, he'll be fine. And I didn't like his after the game presser where he said, oh, I think it's good that happened. We needed to feel that so that we could, realize. And I'm like, dude, we did not need to feel that. Do not say that out loud. You're going to get a lot of hate on social media. So hopefully he will be able to figure that out. But what else happened in the game? Let's just not pick on him. First of all, Edelman was wide open. How many times now? I mean, Dorsett, 2 touchdowns. Tuitt missed a tackle on Burkhead, but tackled Bud Dupree instead. Pittsburgh was 2 for 9 on 3rd down. And our center, I don't know if you noticed, but he missed a snap count. So number 67, Finney. And there's a video out there that basically, because he didn't snap it and everybody moved on the offensive line. And so the offensive line judges false start by everybody but the center. And it's just funny. So if you get a chance to go see that, look on my Twitter feed at Terry and So CALIF, you'll see it. And it's funny to me because at some point you have to laugh because it was so ridiculous. We got embarrassed out there. But then with 4 minutes left in the 4th, seems like Ben's kind of trying to get a rhythm. He launches one into the end zone. and McCourty intercepts it. So, we lost 33-3, and it was embarrassing, but every single thing was clicking for the Patriots. That game, just everything they did worked. Everything we did didn't. But it's clear that, we just don't have that number 2. I think Juju did a respectable job, but he has got to learn that being double teamed means that there's going to be times when he's going to have to figure out how to get in those tight situations. And so one of the things that Tomlin said in his presser, which was really a hard thing for me because I'm not ready for his Tomlinisms yet, as we call them. But he said, we were not prime time ready. Well, why not? You had all of the preseason, you had all of the training camp, you had all of practice. I don't understand why we weren't ready. We have 2 Monday night football games, the last Monday in September and the last Monday in October. Coach, WTF, we need to get this together. This is not the time to start saying we were not ready. So we usually don't play well in the first game of the season, but let's not do that. Let's just relax. And then the overreaction Monday was actually kind of funny to me. So they were already seeing on social media and on some of the shows, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are going to be MVP. The Ravens wrapped up the division in the AFC North, apparently. And the Titans now should start buying Super Bowl tickets because they beat Cleveland, who everybody was anointing the next Super Bowl winner. So it's just, they even started saying RG3, who went in at, 40 points for the Ravens, he's the backup in Baltimore now, he had 140 passer rating and also a touchdown. So I'm just like, okay, but again, look who they were playing. So people, come on, look who they're playing. I wish we got to play them and talk about Miami, because I think we would have looked a lot better playing against a really, really, really bad team. So when you look at who we were playing, the Patriots, yes, we looked terrible, but it's also magnified because you're playing the Super Bowl champions, you're playing the Patriots at home, and they have a ton of weapons. And now what are they going to do with adding AB? I don't even want to think about it. So hopefully our WTF next week will be like, WTF, did you see that play? And the Steelers come out on top. We go to Seattle, or I should say Seattle comes to us. And so I'm really excited about that. Pray for me for my fantasy teams. But everyone, thank you very much for listening, and make it a great week and a great day. And it's our end of our week 1 for our WTF segment, What the Football, Steel City Underground. And my name is Terry Fletcher. So until next week.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.